Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today we are talking about DC's latest film, The Flash.
Interesting group.
Want some help?
Wait, he's Batman?
Collide when the Flash uses his superpowers to travel back in time to change the events of the past. However, when his attempt to save his family alters the future, he becomes trapped in a reality in which General Zod has returned. So The Flash is directed by Andy Muschietti, and it has been a movie that's been in the works for a while now. If I'm remembering correctly, I want to say a Flash movie in general, was announced either before or right around the time that the TV show on the CW was announced and started, and that show ended this year, and we're just finally getting this movie. So yeah, it's been quite the time coming for this movie to finally hit the big screen. And before we get into the review of the film, guys, I feel like I kind of have to preface this here by saying I don't agree or condone anything that Ezra has been accused of or done. This is honestly, it's been kind of hard for me when this movie, after everything that happened, when this movie's getting ready to come out, if it was something that I was going to see in the theaters, just because of the laundry list of stuff that has kind of happened over the past couple years. So I was kind of going back and forth, but at the end of the day, I felt that it wasn't fair to everyone else that worked on this movie because there was a ton of other people that had nothing to do with what Ezra did outside of the film. And so I didn't feel like I was being fair to those people by not supporting the movie because everyone else that worked on it, they definitely deserved the support. So I just wanted to kind of preface this review by saying that. And if that affects, if you're going to watch the rest of this review, I totally understand, but it's just something I felt like I needed to put out there before we jump into the actual review of the film. But without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the movie. So I will start things off by saying that, honestly, I've never really been a huge fan of Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash in any of the other films that they've been in so far up to this point. But I will let you guys know that this is probably my favorite portrayal of that character so far that they have done. So I will say that to start things off. If you've seen the trailer, you know that Barry runs into another version of himself, and this other version of Barry is way more annoying than our Barry in our universe. And that was definitely done on purpose to kind of highlight our Barry. But man, the Barry that our version ends up meeting, I know this is getting kind of confusing, but our version ends up meeting, I was like, man, I think they might have overdone it just a little bit because at times he was really getting on my nerves. As far as our Barry goes, though, some of the stuff that I really enjoyed was there is some emotional bits in this film that I actually really appreciated. And like I said, this is probably my favorite portrayal of the character of Flash that Ezra Miller has done so far in this point up to their career. Now, when Barry runs into this other timeline, he ends up finding out that someone else is Batman, and of course, we end up finding out that that other Batman is Michael Keaton himself. That was one of the big things about this film, is that we were going to see Michael Keaton return as Batman for the first times since those films back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I will tell you guys, if you haven't already seen the film, Michael Keaton kicks major ass in this movie. I was so happy to see him back in this character, back on the big screen. It was one of the main reasons that I wanted to see this movie in the first place. And speaking of Batman, you also get to see Ben Affleck return as Batman as well, and I'm not spoiling anything. This is something that's in the trailers. But you get to see him for a little bit, and Ben Affleck certainly makes the most of the screen time that he does get in this film. It was just really nice to see him don the cape and the suit once again. But watching the movie and seeing these specific scenes, it had me thinking like, man, it really sucks that we never got to see him have a full Batman movie just with his character. You know, he obviously had the appearances and all the other movies that, you know, we saw so far up to this point, but we never got that one solo film with him. So it's going to be one of those things, you know, what could have been. But again, was nice to see him in this movie, and he does a great job as well. When Barry goes into this other timeline, so not only does he see a different Batman, we also get to see there's not a Superman there, but we get to see Supergirl, which is played by Sasha Calle, and I apologize if I'm saying her last name wrong. I believe that's right, but if I am saying that wrong, my apologies. We get to see her playing the character of Supergirl in this film. And honestly, she was one of the biggest highlights of the movie for me. Another reason that I was so excited to see this film, just because of what we saw in the trailer, I was really intrigued by. And I thought that she just has such a presence about her in this movie. It makes her really stand out. And that's saying a lot, especially when you're in a film with great people like Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton in the movie as well. She just had this presence about her, and she kicks some major ass as well. I really hope that in some way, some form, we get to see her character move forward in the new DC that they're currently rebooting right now with James Gunn, because I would like to see her personally tackle this character in a larger aspect going forward. As far as the action goes, like I said, you get some really badass moments with the Batmans that we see in this film, with Supergirl, but also with the Flash. There's one, it's towards the opening of the movie where you see the Flash running, and I thought that was done really well, just because, for me at least, it almost felt like I was on a ride at Universal, like you almost felt like you were running with the Flash. And again, that's just how I felt. I don't know if anybody else felt that way, but I thought that opening was done really well. But the rest of the characters, they each get their moments to shine throughout the film too. However, saying that, there is a lot of CGI in this movie, and you've probably have heard this talked about a million times in other different reviews already. I totally get it, and I understand what they were going for, because Andy Muschietti came out and said that was what they were kind of going for. And I do understand that, but for me personally at least, and for my friends when we watched the movie, there was certain moments where the CGI, it just really took me out of certain scenes when if they didn't, or if they had better CGI, I think those scenes would have worked so much better. So I get that's what they were going for, but for me personally, it just didn't really work at certain times throughout the movie. And cameo-wise, I'm not going to say any of the cameos that are in the film, obviously, because I know not everyone has gotten a chance to go out and see this movie who's wanted to, so you don't have to worry about any spoilers. I will just say that I think the cameos were fine. I liked them. I just would say that I wasn't as blown away as some other people. I know some people are saying there were things that they never thought they would see, and I guess to a degree, like I never thought I would see some of these things on the big screen as well. But they just didn't blow me away as much as some other people, and that's totally fine. At the end of the day, cameos don't make or break a movie for me. It's if you have a really cool cameo, it's just, and your film works, that's just icing on top of the cake for me. But if the cameos, if they're not anything too crazy, I'm not going to go, oh, well, this movie didn't have this person, and this person in here. Well, I think it totally sucks now. That's not how those work for me. So even though they weren't as big or as impressive for me, I know a lot of people loved them. Overall, they weren't like insane or anything like that. I thought they were good. Overall, I had a good time with The Flash. Is it a top 10 superhero movie of all time for me personally at least? No, I don't think so. No, but it was fun with great performances from Sasha Calle, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, and I think it was a good way for the DCU to kind of wrap things up. I know technically we still have Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but I think it's a good way for the DCU to kind of wrap things up before we get to James Gunn reboot of the DC universe. So overall, as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this thing an 8.3 out of 10. So I had fun with it. It's definitely not in my top 10 superhero movies of all time, and that's okay. Not every superhero movie has to be, obviously, but I did enjoy it. I'm sure I'm probably going to get some hate from some people out there. I can already feel that, but yeah, that's just my personal opinion. If you guys loved it, that is fantastic. I'm glad that you guys did. I thought it was solid for me. So, and I feel like an 8.3 is a pretty good score. So I'm curious what you guys, think about the movie. Definitely let me know down below in the comments. Try and keep it spoiler free. If you guys are using any spoilers, just make sure to kind of put a couple dots so that way people can't see the spoilers in your posts. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts overall. If you have seen it, what did you think? And if you haven't, is it something that you are planning to see? Because I'm curious about that as well. If you don't, or if you're not going to see it, I totally understand. So let me know down below in the comments. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it. That way you get notifications for all my new videos. Give this video a thumbs up. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.